Hello, welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt, here with Alonso and Christy. Our final film this week is Summerland. Alonso, will you tell us about it?
They could have called it Flashback Land because there's a lot of jumping back and forth. But the film is bookended by Penelope Wilton sitting at a manual typewriter in the modern day, packing away at a story. And that story takes place during World War II. And it's a flashback to where she's now played by Gemma Arterton. And you give me Gemma Arterton in World War II, and I'm halfway there because, they're finest. Anyway, she's living in a small town. She is kind of a recluse. Other people in town don't like her. Kids play pranks on her. She is working on some academic treatises about the roots of mythology and folklore because it is the wartime and the Blitz is happening in London. Kids are being sent out to go live in the country, and she suddenly finds herself with this young boy that she has to shelter and feed and sort of get to know. He's played by an actor named Lucas Bond. As you might expect, he manages to work through her prickly exterior. The two become close, but then tragedy strikes and different war-related things happen, and you have to figure out how they're going to get through it and what's going to go on. It's good. I love the period details. A lot of the performances are fun. Tom Courtenay's in it. Gugu Mbatha-Raw is in it. There's these more sets of flashbacks where we find out that back in the 30s, I guess, Gemma Arterton's character had an affair with Gugu Mbatha-Raw's character, but then Mbatha-Raw wanted to have children, so they broke up so she could marry a dude. Anyway, but so there's a lot that I liked about it. There is a thing that happens in this movie that is both predictable and you can't believe they're going to do it, and they do it. So that lost me a little bit. But, this is exactly the kind of movie that you would take your mom to see at a matinee at the art house on a Sunday. And so if you want to watch it at your own house on a Sunday, more power to you.
We talked about it on the radio yesterday on Film Week, and I said not exactly that, but I did say this is a take your mom movie, which is definitely a subgenre that we do talk about around here. It's like a very fancy soap opera. It's like a very tastefully highfalutin soap opera. I think, Alonso, that the beginning is in 1975 in Kent, if I recall seeing the title card correctly.
That might be right, actually, because the little girls who come to the house to sell Girl Scout cookies or whatever are dressed for that era. You're right. Yeah,
and at that point, I think that she's 65, and when they flash back to the war, I think she's 34, something like that. And why don't you have a husband? Why don't you have a husband? That kind of thing. Yeah, this is very predictable and nice and lovely, but for the brief times that Gugu Mbatha-Raw is in the film, she and Gemma Arterton have a very lovely chemistry with each other. I like the way that in the flashback within the flashback, she is first introduced to us visually, because Gemma Arterton clearly has closed herself off emotionally for a while at this point. But the memory of meeting Gugu Mbatha-Raw's character comes to her, but she can't bear it in full all at once, right? Snippets. So you see, I love the way this is edited. There's a cross-cutting between her sitting on the floor in her house and then remembering Gugu's hands. And then she can't bear it. And then she remembers the fur on her coat, and it's too much. And then she remembers the lipstick on her lips, and oh my God. And then we finally see her in her full glory, being the gorgeous woman that she is. Yeah. And then she can finally take it. But it's I like there's an emotional truth to that cross-cutting there. She finally opens her heart to that memory. When the thing happens, the revelation that happens, it's kind of predictable, but I feel like it's such a nice movie that I just kind of went with it. And there is great care, I will say, to the details, right? We were talking earlier about Beyonce having great care in the details of her movies. All the things in the production design, all the things that are on her desk, right? The cigarettes and the chocolate bar are the same things that she has in 1975, are the same things that she likes. And so the details of the hair scarf that ties her wavy hair back. There's care in them, and there's care in the costume design, and I appreciated all that.
Also, there's a joke in the first 10 minutes of this movie about the chocolate bar that is one of the biggest laughs I've had in a while.
Alice, Gemma Arterton's character, is so mean in the beginning of this movie, and it's so funny. And it's one of those things like, God, it's so great to see Gemma Arterton doing comedy, because I think she doesn't get to do that quite enough, and it's great. And I think the movie does a decent job of going from not quite slapstick, but this wry comedy early on, and the way that Frank kind of interacts with the other girl at the school.
Right.
And I found like that interaction was really interesting, because it really did kind of nail the way kids just like make up crazy shit to go and do. And then as the movie gets on, like it gets more emotional. And I think that Jessica Swale, the director, manages to pivot that way fairly well. When the thing happens,
earned?
Is it gravitas?
I think it is earned. When the thing happens, I kind of wish that they would have hinted at it a little bit more, because then it wouldn't have felt because it feels like it's supposed to be right. It feels like it's supposed to be a surprise, and I think that the movie goes through a few hoops that it shouldn't have, because it would have been interesting to kind of learn along with the audience, like learn as an audience what this was. But it is what it is. Like is it kind of light? Yeah, it is. Right. It doesn't quite have, I think, the emotional heft that I think it's necessarily going for, but I like this a lot. And it's one of those movies where it's like, you think about a lot of indie movies that have these tragic endings. And this one doesn't do that. And, I don't want to give everything away, but like, oh, okay. Yeah, great.
I think the thing is, like, it is so kind of hokey and old fashioned. And I think I might've been a little more forgiving about that if this were like an adaptation of an old novel or something, but this is an original screenplay from first time director Jessica Swale. So I'm like, really? You came up with that? This is what we're going to go with. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but she's written a bunch of plays, right? She's written some plays, and this is almost, it's like, man, what if Douglas Sirk was in a good mood? That's what this feels like, right? And it's like, oh, okay, sure.
Fair enough. That should be on the poster.
It's Douglas Sirk
was in a good mood. It's nice.
Very nice.
So, this is Swale's first feature. She did direct a really hilarious short that you can watch on the internet called Leading Lady Parts. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it.
Okay. Wait a minute. I'm saying 6.4.
I said 6.5.
Okay.
I said 7.5.
Okay. It sounds like an Outfest title, Alonso. Was this ever an
Outfest I bet
title?
It would have been. I think if Outfest had happened in July as scheduled, this would have been the kind of thing we would have at least tried to get it. I don't know, if how that would have played out, but for sure, like, who doesn't want to see a movie where Gemma Arterton and Gugu Mbatha-Raw are girlfriends? Last year, we screened the movie where where Gemma Arterton and Elizabeth Debicki were Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville West. So
right, Vita and Virginia.
Anyway, our number is 6.6. And so that is out there for your sitting on the couch with your mom streaming enjoyment.
Have a nice cup of tea. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We've always got exclusive content for our subscribers. This week we are talking about the Shudder original Host, a horror film shot entirely during quarantine and over Zoom. We have thoughts. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.